Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Train Simulator Classic, aka Railworks. And today we're going to be looking at a bit of a combo. To be perfectly honest, I could not remember if I had done a video on this, and I kind of felt lazy and didn't want to scroll through the multiple hundred videos I have now. But this is the California Zephyr pack from DTG. This is the slightly newer quote. If I remember right, there's two different California Zephyrs for Train Sim Classic. There's one that's the more modernized Amtrak version with, I believe, the F40s? I really do not remember. But then we have this one, the original California Zephyr, the Numero Uno set. It's listed as the California Zephyr set because it's not a particular locomotive, and it's not particular, like, a generic car for the road that the locomotive would go to. This is more of a specific train set. The California Zephyr was a specific train, naming a passenger train. The locomotives themselves got swapped around depending on the road that the train itself ended up on. But we're going to be taking a look at that today, but we're also going to be taking a look at it with the UTS modification. UTS Creations did a really nice pack upgrade, which played around with lots of different things that we're going to look at, go through the list, see what we like, see what we dislike, just as well as the pack itself. So locomotive wise, you're going to get, for the Denver and Rio Grande Western, you're going to get the F9A and B. That's what we got sitting right here. And then for the Western Pacific, you're going to get the FP7, which is effectively just an F7, but with a larger, with a slightly larger car body for accommodations of a steam generator and steam boiler for use on passenger trains. Because at the time, steam was still being used for things like heating on passenger trains, so one would still need a generator, or rather boiler, even on a diesel locomotive. So the Western Pacific side gets the FP7. Now, technically speaking, the California Zephyr was also pulled by the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy. Not wildly sure why that was left out of this pack. I mean, I do and no. I think part of the reason is just due to the fact that we have a Denver and Rio Grande Western route in the Soldier Summit, and we have a Western Pacific route in the Feather River Canyon. But still, technically speaking, this train was also pulled by the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy. This whole set was interchanged with the DNRGW, the Western Pacific, and the CB&Q, depending on where you were going, that sort of thing. Such is life, though. Now you also get a full set of coaches. The coaches will have different road name plates on them depending on which road you are operating on. So since we're on the Soldier Summit, we are pulling Denver and Rio Grande Western cars with our F9s. However, you will get the exact same cars with WP instead of DNRGW on them. They are not dynamically numbered, and they are not dynamically named. So this is one of those kind of one and done sets. Everything is individual, but you know, it's neat enough given that it's supposed to represent a specific terrain rather than a generic option. Now this pack has been out for a little bit now. If I remember right, it's a good few years old. So we'll pull up the DLC page here and go for the California Zephyr. Yeah, I was right. There are two different ones. There's the old F40s and then the newer. So this came out 2016. It is $20 US. So it's definitely older now, and there are some aspects on it that definitely show that age. However, UTS definitely helped it. I have no idea who built the core models. I'm gonna assume DTM had a hand in it, just because there's a lot of things in here that seem very DTM-esque. So when you place the pack down, originally it's gonna have no good physics. The sounds are gonna be old recycled sounds. It's nothing to brag about, really. The whole pack, just straight out of the box, bought from Steam. I personally found it kind of disappointing because, let's face it, it's kind of a special set with two separate locomotives, and yet these two separate locomotives sound identical. And the Western Pacific set even has a completely different set of horns, and yet they still sound identical, which is just not right. So UTS did some really nice modifications, which I have pulled up. I'm not going to bother much with a whole historical note this time around, just because, again, it's not one specific item that we're looking at, so it wouldn't really do much good, or we would be here all day going over the F9, the FP7, the streamlined coaches. So if you wish to know more about the locomotives and such, Google is your friend. However, that is not what we're here for. So let's see, what kind of bells, buttons, and whistles do these things get updated and upgraded? So according to UTS, the things that they played with are both locomotives have class lights, which are fully functional and can be toggled independent of the headlights. They are equipped with Dynamex, which is UTS proprietary exhaust architecture and is tailor made to EMD locomotives specifically, providing a much more realistic exhaust particle than previously possible. So of course we're going to take a peek at that. Kind of wish I had chosen a different time of day, but oh well. As it sits right now, the locomotives are just sitting here idling. They're under the power, so there's not really any exhaust here to take note of. Horn switcher. The F9 is fitted with a Nathan M3. As you can see, it only has one set of horns. However, the FP7 comes with two different horns, so UTS opted to give it a horn switcher. Kind of like, what is it, Smokebox with their FEF. If you liked the older whistle, you can swap between the older whistle and the newer whistle. Matter of fact, if I remember correctly, somewhere in here, Smokebox actually had a hand in helping them with the horn swapper, but the Western Pacific FP7 includes a Nathan M5 and a Leslie A200, as you can see. So we got three different horns here to play with, which we will definitely take a look at. Improved textures. A slight layer of weathering has been applied to the textures, making the locomotives appear more realistic in normal service. Which you can kind of see. They got kind of this roughish paint job going on, which, you know, it's alright. You guys know me. If you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll know I'm not wildly fond of weathering in train simulators. It never looks right. Weathering tends to show the imperfections in the paint, in the base texture, a lot, and it's really not much of an exception here. For example, which, truth be told, this whole section looks kind of awful. Very blurry. This isn't line up. It's really blurry. It's blurry all the way around, as opposed to the side panel here, which is like pretty crisp up until you get like right up on it. That looks, yeah, pitiful. So Western Pacific model included, because the nose is pretty much identical. Yeah, you can definitely see the texture changes. So yeah, it's alright. The logo here that goes completely over the door is a wildly higher resolution texture than the core paint. It's kind of funny, with no weathering at all on it. Same for that logo. So yeah, they got weathering. If it floats your boat, it floats your boat. It's not my thing. Insertable reverser, that's something that is pretty standard on UTS enhancement packs, and this pack is no exception. Continuing on, interior. By default, the EMD F9 and the FP7 DLC had the default Empire Builder F7 cab, while the FP7 got a brand new cab model. As part of this enhancement pack, we have ported the FP7 cab to the F9 to enhance the driving experience and functionality of the F9. Now, credit where it is due. The F-Series locomotives are not all wildly different inside. So I get it in the sense that there's a copy and paste that they did. I'm sure somebody that has sat in the cab of both of these locomotives can go, oh my gosh, this is wrong. I can't. I've never been in the cab of an FP7 and an F9 that I can remember. Might have been an F9. So yeah, I can't say as to what would be right and proper, but it is nice that they ported over a new cab for the F9. In my opinion, it's painfully obvious when you copy paste something and then try to play off the external model as new, because the copy paste shit stands out like a sore thumb. So, you know, I can appreciate that. I can live with that. Mars lights. A prototypical Mars light simulation has been included here with separate toggles for the light itself and the motor that oscillates the light. I would assume the FP7s, this is a Mars light. However, the F9s, I'm dead certain. Mars light. The Mars light functions are pretty nice. We'll take a look at those in a second. Locomotive physics have been reworked, each with their appropriate horsepower and tractive effort levels to provide a smoother and more realistic experience. Because, again, there are two different locomotives. The F9s are slightly more powerful, coming in at somewhere around 1700, 1750 horsepower, versus the F7's 1500, I believe, somewhere in that area. So yeah, your horsepower would be different, your physics would be different. That has been upgraded. Physics. Alright, went over the physics. I'm an idiot. Realistic headlights. So a prototypical simulation of non-LED headlights has been implemented, fading in and out when toggled or dimmed, and only casting a light cone on the ground during night. Oh, that's wonderful. I love it. And you can already see here we have the dim, just because the locomotives are sitting here idling. It looks so much better it is a huge pet peeve of mine that we get devs, not naming names, but we get devs directly affiliated with DTG, directly endorsed, that put out, quote, classic models like these F-Series with neon white LED headlights that just do not exist today. You won't see heritage F units with bright white LEDs. Even the ones that are owned by, well, it used to be, I don't believe they are anymore, but the old Norfolk Southern executive units, and I believe BNSF had some executives, though I forget if they're E's or F's. Those units that ran with the Canadian Pacific steam locomotive that ran down to Mexico also had them, but they've all gotten upgrades to modern standards, and they still are not bright neon white. So that has always been a big pet peeve of mine. These look really good. Now, of course, we're going to take a look at the actual lighting in a little bit. Continuing on, separate freight and passenger variants. Prototypically, depending on the type of service being operated, the locomotive's brake pipe pressure would either fill to 110 psi for a passenger service or 90 psi for a freight service. As the F-Series of locomotives or largely mixed traffic engines, we have included both passenger and freight variants with appropriate brake pipe pressures for both. Something we won't notice until we start playing with the brakes. And if I'm not mistaken, the gearing is also different between the two. I believe freight locomotives are geared differently from passenger locomotives. But I do forget if they included that. Sound sets, aside from the aforementioned air horns, which have separate close-up and faraway samples, an entirely bespoke sound set has been faithfully created for both locomotives, representing both the EMD 16 567B and 567C prime movers for the FP7 and F9. Thank God. So the 567B is characteristically more exhaust heavy in sound, while the 567C is more roots blower heavy. Which you can definitely hear just sitting here at an idle. I love it. Now I have heard some of the, I'm gonna say it, I have heard some of the nerds that think Dovetail Games pushes out absolute gold defend their use of rehashed sounds. This pack comes with rehashed F7 sounds from when Horseshoe Curve got its one and only update, who knows how long ago. They're awful. They've always been awful. They were awful back then. They're still awful now. But the copy and paste on each and every single F-Series always irked the living snot out of me. And people would defend it because, oh, it's the same motor. It's the same engine. Wow, it's still a 567. I always said, it is not identical. If you've ever sat next to I have sat next to an F7, and I have sat next to a GP9. They're not identical sounding. Yes, it's the same core engine. It is still a 567, I get it. But they do not sound exactly the same. That is faithfully represented here. It is so much better. Again, you hear that noticeable difference. Yes, it is the same core engine, but it is an updated core engine. Things were improved on. Things changed on the core engine. So you will hear a noticeable sound difference. Windscreen wipers. The windscreen wipers have been completely revamped with variable speeds, new animation, and the ability to park them in any position. that's a neat thing for those of you that run in weather. I always thought rain kind of looked meh in Train Sim, even with the AP weather pack. I mean, heck, we're using AP weather right now, and it's meh. Yeah, it's not something I use often, so I couldn't tell you what it looked like to begin with. Virtual window system. Due to the F unit's limited in-cab functionality, a virtual window system has been implemented to simulate the audible effect of open windows. Very nice. That is it, along with our bells, buttons, and whistles for key bindings. So, start off back here with the FP7s. First things first, the horns. Very nice. A little bit of a loop in there. You can definitely hear it, but it's not wildly noticeable. It's not like the real noticeable models from certain other people. Let's see. Changing the horn on the fly. I gotta remember how to do that. Control, Shift, and Space. Control, Shift, Space. Now we got the Leslie A's. Oh, I love it. Easily my favorite Leslie. Easily my favorite Leslie A200. Period. In game right now. Period. The best. Love it. Yep. Still love it. Sounds wonderful. So we're not going to bother with our reverse key. We're just going to run it up to RPM sitting here. Jade right there. The distance change is nice. I do like that blowing the horn fades out the engine sound so that you can hear it at distance. That is a nice thing. Man, that engine sounds good. Engine sounds are awesome. Distance change is really, really nice. Absolutely. Absolutely wonderful. Instrument lights. Cab lights. Now, unfortunately, a lot of the bells, buttons, and whistles are stuck to keybinds. Not much I can do about that. One of which being the headlight. Love the color. So, class lights are C. Shift C to go the other way. Class lights look awesome. Love them. Headlights H. They even have that nice kind of turn up. You know, like the light bulb, like a proper incandescent. You know, it's not instant on off. Really like that. Dim them. Very nice, very nice, very nice. K for the Mars light, which is what turns the Mars light on and off. The motor is Shift K. Which it's not dark outside, so you won't see it doing the whole squiggly on the ground, but you can see the motor. You can see the little light in here moving around. It's pretty neat. And at night, can confirm, you can see it doing the whole wiggle waggle. So that's nice. Let's see, what else we got? Number board lights. Ooh, those are white. Those are still very white. Not my favorite. A little too bright for me. Too white. Shift R for our reverser. Wiper speed with the V key. Hey, I got a 1970 Ford pickup whose windshield wipers are this right here. This is the low setting on it. It is hilarious because outside of snow, I don't know what use this speed is. Being somebody from Texas, where it rains kind of hard. The V key will continue to increase the speed on the wipers. That is maxed out right there. And that's off. Very nice. I like those. Shift W. Windows are open. Shift W. Windows are closed. Shift Y stops the engines. The little cotton balls for smoke don't float my boat very much either. Y to crank them back up. Startup doesn't float my boat. That might just be because we got 4 of them in a line here, but definitely not my favorite. Let's move on to the Denver and Rio Grande Western model. Very nice. That sounds cool, the window's open. Definitely like it. H key for headlights. K for the Mars light. Which should turn on back here, I thought. We gotta play with stuff. Control. Should make it wiggle waggle. Huh. Let's see. And all those. Alright. Instruments, cab lights. None of those. Shift R to put our reverse key in. Oh, it's a good sounding horn. I like it. What else we got? Class lights. Number board lights. Still seem kind of white, but I don't know why they kind of look like they look better on the F9. Maybe it's just me. And that should be it. So that is pretty much it that's wildly different. So all we gotta do is run the train. Let's come over here, set our track up so that we can oogity boogity on out of here. This is the Soldier Summit route, by the way. I believe this is the extension, if I'm not mistaken. Man, that horn sound inside is nice. I do wish that the exhaust was a little more, I don't know, smooth. It looks a lot like individual black cotton balls stacked on top of each other and then a rapid succession coming out. It's not what I would call phenomenal. Oh, wait, did these turn on? I didn't. Huh. I did something wrong. These are supposed to work. I do like it. So this boom is 30. Whack. Man, this is easily some of the best sounding F units in game, without a doubt. UTS absolutely outdid themselves. Yeah, the sounds are just mint. Absolutely love them. That's interesting though. That's orange. How even more interesting? Why does the windows look like that? Huh. The lack of clickety-clack sounds is very disturbing. I've been playing with jointed rail cars for too long. Man, they sound good. Nobody ever believes me when I say it, but good sounds can really make or break a model. You could have the nicest, newest model in-game right now, and if it's got the same garbage recycled sounds from a decade ago, in my opinion, that is absolutely what'll kill it. But when you got some real nice quality sounds like this, oh my gosh. It's just downright phenomenal. So let's hear this thing at a distance. Boogity boogity boogity. Here's a change as it gets closer. Just, man, that sounds good. That interior horn sound is absolute mint. I think that's about it though. As far as things to go over, I don't think there's really much else. I read the entire log for the UTS manual. Of course, we looked at the locomotives. Of course, as a pack, you also get the cars. Don't believe UTS did anything to the cars. I imagine they would have some clickety-clack sounds if they had. Which, the cars themselves are nice overall. It is just kind of one of those things where you use it with this pack and that's really about it. Just as it goes. I do believe that there are some views for it though. Yeah, the only view that we get is in the observation car, which is at the very rear. Which overall it does have some nice views, albeit I do wish that we were sitting at a normal, like the camera was at a head level for these seats instead of sitting way down in here like this. Because you can't really see anything going forward. You can't really see much going back. You're kind of stuck looking directly out the side. But anywho, anyways, I believe we've gone over everything that's worth going over. brake handle does not move. The independent does. The train brake does not. That is something to take note of. And there it is, guys. The California Zephyr pack by DTG with the Enhancement pack by UTS Creations. If you don't have it, I highly recommend it. The pack itself is alright. To be perfectly honest, I get more use out of the passenger cars than I do the locomotives before the UTS pack. With the UTS pack, though, I absolutely love it. It really, really, really makes this pack stand out. Sounds great, looks great, runs great. Just makes the experience much more fun. So I highly recommend checking it out. Pack is available on Steam. The update/upgrade you can get directly from UTS website, or there's another couple places I believe you can pick it up now. Link in the description, obviously. But hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time.